Welcome 442. Whoop whoop. Congratulations making it this far. By the way, we do have I teach CSE 116. It ends 20 minutes before this one starts with a 10-20 minute break. So um, I did invite all them if they want to stay for 442. They would just want to check it out and hang out. They'll be here too. That's why our viewers is higher than the, I believe, 180 that's enrolled in this course. 180 sounds high, but it might be right. Yeah, 180. 180 software engineering 3 to 350. 180. Man, that's so many. I've never had. So I had a 442 that was at 160. I think it was 162, and that was a lot. We're even more than that. Plus, we're remote. We're in for a fun ride. It'll be fine. But one change, I might as well start with this. One change because of the high enrollment, we will have 5 students per team, which unfortunately is a little bit high. I like teams of 3 to 4, but it's what we got to do to keep the logistics limited a little bit. Even with 5 students, that's some inconceivable number of groups. I can't even comprehend 36, right? Math is hard. Gifting 20 subs for a good grade. Oh, so let's start with the usuals. All right, so we're streaming on, and with this, actually I do have a lot to go through. So let's get started. We can't dawdle too much here. So let's start at the top of the website and start talking about how this course is going to roll. So Twitch, if you're hearing me right now, you obviously found Twitch, unless you're watching this on YouTube later. So Twitch is where lectures are going to stream. I didn't make it super abundantly clear that that's what we're doing. It's somewhere in this website, but I forget where I even put it. It might even be only in the slides for the first lecture. So I just shot you all an email, as you know. We stream on Twitch. You can watch the lectures live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 to 350. And Twitch will save the VOD. If you go to the videos tab on my channel, it'll save that video for, I believe, 45 days. So you can watch it, and I believe you can watch it after the lecture starts and while I'm still streaming. So if you're like 10 minutes late to a lecture, you don't want to miss the beginning of it, just go to the videos tab, watch the video, and start from the beginning. You won't miss anything. Our wonderful, actually my 116 TA, there are no TAs for this class. My wonderful 116 TA, Mike, he will upload the VODs onto YouTube, so we don't lose them after 45 days. He's usually good about doing this day of, so if you prefer YouTube, if you want the speed controls and the interface and stuff, you should have that available by the end of the day, but highly recommended that you watch the stream live, or at least same day on Twitch. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but many of the lectures will have activities. I want to say lecture questions because that's what they are in 116. But many of them will have activities that will be due midnight of the day of lecture. So you do have to be aware of those. With online only, with different time zones and just so many different circumstances, I'm not having them due at the end of lecture, which is when they should be due. And you should be forced to come to lecture and do those activities in lecture, because some of the lecture activities, my lecture itself is just going to be, hi, here's the activity, go for it. And then you have that time to do the activity. But given all these special circumstances, I moved that to midnight. But you do have to keep up on the lectures at least day of, if not live, preferably live. We have Slack set up. Some of you have been messaging in Slack already. Please go there, introduce yourself, especially to your recitation. If you need to contact me, try to limit the DMs. Only DM me if you really need to, but a DM on Slack would be better than an email. I'll probably respond faster to a DM on Slack than an email. So if there is something where you need to talk to me specifically, Slack is your place. If it's something that you don't need me specifically, post in one of the channels there. You can also create your own channels. Once you have your teams, create your own channels for your teams. Feel free to use that as your central communication for the class. Since we're online only, especially, this is important because that's your form of communication with the class. We're not all sitting in the same room. You can't just turn to your classmates and talk to them. You can't meet together in recitation and talk to them. You will once we get the Zoom meetings set up for recitations. But let me I'm getting ahead of myself again. But that's our main form of communication. Talk to your classmates, talk to me. Slack is a place. And then YouTube I already mentioned. We're just using YouTube to back up the Twitch VODs. So this course, let me explain just a little bit meta about the course, and then I'll go into today's slides, which goes over a lot of the structure. The course is kind of conjoined. I don't know what the best term is, but it's in conjunction with CSE 404. CSE 404 is a project management class, and the project managers in that class will be managing your projects, which is the primary reason why we have to keep the number of teams down. So each recitation will have 4 teams. That limit is just on the number of students in CSE 404. So you will have a project management. Yes, I'm seeing this chat. Oh, I forgot to mention chat. I'll mention that in a second. Let me finish this thought. So those project managers in that class will be managing your projects. They'll be meeting with you for your recitations. They'll be meeting during your recitation time with you. They'll have the Zoom logistics. They'll set that part of it up. But that's why we have to limit the number. We don't want to overwhelm them with too many teams. It's just a limit of having 180 students in this class. I don't know why enrollment blew up this semester, but it is what it is, and we'll deal with it. I can see chat. So this is why I recommend, this is the primary reason why I recommend watching lectures live, is you do have chat. You can interact with me, especially, I know I'm going to say this a lot today, but especially being online only with this new COVID thing, this is where you can interact with me. You can interact with your classmates. We can have that more personal feel to the course, as opposed to just uploading videos and having you watch them on your own time, or if you just watch the VODs later. If you have that interaction, it makes it. I'm losing my words here, but I do watch chat, so I will watch it during lectures. Ideally, chat will be on topic for lectures. Since I will watch it, I can get distracted by it. I've been distracted by chat before when they're talking about something irrelevant, but I still don't want to miss something that pertains to the lecture if something needs more explanation or whatever. What I recommend is go to Slack, create another channel if need be, or just chat in random. If you want to chat during lecture with just random crap, do that on Slack, and then when you need my attention, go to the chat in Twitch. But you're going to do what you're going to do. I can't stop you. So, I mean, I could bring out the band hammer, but I don't really want to. But chat is a big part. It's the reason I use Twitch, is so we can have that live chat. Are we doing Agile, Scrum, TDD? Yes, all of that. Agile and Scrum are the two that will be most prevalent in the course. You do have to do testing, not necessarily TDD, though we will discuss it in lecture. But you do have to do testing. If you write your test after the code, well, your project manager, myself, will never know if you did TDD or just wrote tests after the fact. But we will talk about what TDD is. Have you ever hit a YY double fakie ladder stall, no scope, final kill cam before? I mean, yeah. Who hasn't? Duh. What's your rank on Valorant? All right. So those are good examples of off topic. Let's get some slides going, and there are a lot of slides, so let's start this. Let's start this thing. So these slides, I'll start right off, is these slides are made primarily by Dr. Matthew Hertz. Him and Alan Hunt regularly teach this in 404, but for whatever for schedule reasons, whatever, I was brought back on to CSE 442 for this one. So I used to teach this class. I think I did my first 5 semesters here, so I'm familiar with the course. And some of these slides originated from my original slides, but morphed beyond recognition to an extent. So I am using Professor Hertz's slides. So if there's ever a slide where I feel like it seems like I don't know what I'm looking at with the slide, it's just fair warning, that's what's going on. So that's another place where chat might be able to help me. If I'm staring at a slide, like I was when I was reviewing these ones, there's this one slide that I just couldn't get. I didn't know what he was trying to get at. So So that's where chat can help. If you're like, yo, this is what he was saying, you can help out lecture. Isn't that illegal to use other teachers' material? So Dr. Hertz is the one teaching 404 this semester. He gave me his slides. He said use these. I have his blessing and everything. It's not illegal, in this case at least. The reason I want to use his slides is because there is so much cohesion between 442 and 404 that I don't want to come in with my old slides or come in with a lot of changes. That's going to disrupt 404. It's just going to mess up a lot of things. So I'm going to use his slides. I'll go through each deck before the lecture and make any small modifications that I feel are necessary. But for the most part, they're going to be Matt Hertz's slides. You mentioned Agile, Scrum, and TDD. I've never heard those before. Is that bad? Will we learn those at some point? That is not bad. That's perfectly fine. That's why you're here, is to learn those things. It's absolutely okay that you don't know any of those things. That's what this course is about, is teaching those types of topics. So I will absolutely cover you on that. Got you covered. 404 not found. Yes. Because we never had a project management course. It was never found. Now it is, but still 404. Can we use MongoDB for your project? These are all excellent questions. Let me just get through these slides. If you still have questions after that, I'm sure you will. That we'll talk about it all semester, to be honest. We got plenty of time. So let's start off with what I am expected to do before I talk about what you're expected to do, which is the rest of the course. I should always be prepared for lecture, organized and available. Sometimes I might, like I just mentioned, I might trip up on a slide. I'll give you fair warning on that, but we'll get through it. And I am going to go off slides a bit. I tend to do that a lot. Whenever I have a story related to the topic, I'm going to talk about that story and everything. But we will use the slides to guide the lecture. But I will be prepared for that. And I want you to care about the learning. That's what I'm going to... Don't copy the name when you copy the pasta. Wait, what do you mean? Don't copy the name? Having Professor Hertz's name here? I wanted to preserve that because I want to give him credit for the slides. I don't want to, taking, if that's what you mean. I'm not going to take his slides and put my name on it. That would be wrong. I'm not doing that. So I'm here to care about your learning. That's why I'm hired. That's why you pay me through your tuition. I'm going to care about your learning. I'm not necessarily going to give a crap about your grade. If you miss a deadline or do some silly thing and miss a grade and get a lower percentage, don't expect much sympathy from me. But if you're focused on your learning, I'm going to be focused on your learning. I want you to succeed, not just in this class, but in your career, especially in this course, more than any other course that we offer in CSE. This course is about your career, your future career, not just here's a load of definitions, memorize them. It's all about what you're going to be able to do after this class. I'll be kind of available to answer questions. I have this class with 180 students. I have 116 with 230 students. I'm one of the 199 instructors, which has like 1 billion students, but that one's not, we have 7 instructors. There's 6 instructors and a manager, I guess you could call Steve. So that one's less so. But I do have a lot of students. But I'll be generally available. If you message me on Slack, I might not get back to you that day, or sometimes, let's be honest, even that week. But I will be there, especially for the important questions. I want to be available to answer those. If you message me and say, can you explain MongoDB to me? I'm probably not even going to answer that question. But when there's something that is pertinent to the course, hey, I watched your lecture on TDD and I just had a question about this part of it. That question I'm going to answer. I'm going to be there for you. And I'm going to be honest and forthright. I think you can already tell that in this lecture. I'm probably a little more honest than I should be at times. When I open with, I'm going to stumble on slides sometimes. I probably shouldn't even say that, but I'm going to be honest and forthright with you. I don't believe in bullshit. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to trick you or anything. I'm going to be upfront with you. What I expect of you, be professional. This should go without saying, but showing up on time for your meetings, just being in lecture, doing what you're supposed to do, doing the readings before class, just generally being a good student, but also, again, related to the career aspect of this course, being a good employee and being a good teammate. These are the things that are going to be critical when you graduate. It's better to learn them now when you're in the soft, cushy academic environment than learning them in the workplace when you get that first job. So be professional and just keep that attitude as you graduate and go on with your careers. Oh, and I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Jesse Harloff. Being seniors, most of you may have met me at some point along the way, but I do go by Jesse. So you see students in chat referring to me as Jesse. That is what I prefer. That's what I go by. Just call me Jesse. That's fine. If you prefer more formality, Dr. Hartloff, professor, whatever else you want to call me, that's fine too. I'll still respond. I'll still interact with you. There's no problems with that. But if you don't have any preference, just default to Jesse. There are juniors in this course. I personally think they're disadvantaged. I didn't always have that opinion. I actually recommended sophomores to take this class. I would always recommend take this class as soon as you can or as soon as you're ready. The problem, though, is the juniors, they just don't have as much experience, and they tend to do worse in the class than the seniors, just because you don't have as much experience under your belt, as much experience writing software. So that can be a burden. But if you're a confident, competent developer, you know how to write the hell out of software, then you're ready for the software engineering level of that and to formalize that and to work on teamwork. But if you're a junior who's been squeaking by with C's, you might want to wait. You might want to drop and wait to take this course. But it's up to you. You're going to do what you're going to do. Can you explain MongoDB to me? I'm not answering that question. This is a demanding course. I expect you to work hard. There's going to be a lot of time requirements. There's also going to be going to the professional thing, communicating with your teamwork and going to the meetings, scheduling meetings. You go to those meetings and work hard at those. Don't let your teammates down. There's a lot of work to be done. It's not as much of technical work as other courses. If you've taken 331 or 396 or compilers or operating systems, it's not going to be that type of demanding, but it is going to be demanding on your time. And since there are no pre-baked assignments, it's demanding on your maturity, for lack of a better term, in that you have to create the assignment. You're creating your own project. You're deciding what it's going to do, how it's going to do it, what modules to create, what language to use. You're making a lot of decisions that you haven't been asked to make in any other course. And that's going to be a different kind of demanding. So be ready to work and be able to do those things and ask for help. If you're stuck, don't wait till sprint 4, the end of the semester, to bring it up. I had this one student in a team. The team decided to use Django for their web server, and it was the last sprint. It was the last part of the semester, and this student says, "Hey, I don't know Django, and I'm having trouble learning it." Well, the end of the semester isn't the time to notify me that you don't know how to use the tool that your teammates decide to use at the beginning of the semester. That's not how it works. I'm not going to have sympathy at that point. If you're really struggling, first, bring it up with your team. Say, "Hey, I don't know Django," and they'll say, "Go through the tutorial, because, come on, you should be able to do that." But that's besides the point. But if there's an issue like that, you need to bring it up early and often. Bring it up to your team. If they don't listen, bring it up to me. Bring it up to your project manager. Ask for help when you need it. Don't get stuck and take bad peer evals, tank your grades on each sprint, and then at the end of the semester say, "Well, it just didn't work out. What can you do for me?" And just let me know. This relates to ask for help, but I already covered this in my rant right here. Not rant, but this is part of the team formation. You're going to have to submit how to settle conflicts between your teammates, but you will end up arguing with your teammates. I've never seen a team that didn't argue at some point. Sometimes, like in this course, I don't always see the arguments, but I know they happen. But just speaking from being a teammate on teams, we always argue. When me and other professors have to have a task where we have to work together, we're in some committee or subcommittee or a task force or whatever, we argue all the friggin' time. It doesn't stop. Arguments is just part of what's going to happen. And knowing to expect that, anticipate that, and being able to handle that, it's just a real life skill. It's something that you're going to experience in this course. You've probably experienced in other teams. You've certainly experienced outside of coursework. It's going to happen, and learning how to handle that. One big piece of advice: don't be the person starting an argument. Like, be professional. Be don't start those fights, but also don't be the know-it-all. That can usually start some fights too. But my tangent there is going to get into different life advice, not really pertain to this course. But you should have some conflict resolution. You will be required to have a conflict resolution on paper when you form your teams, and so you'll come up with something at that point. Some way when there is an argument, you all agree beforehand how you're going to settle it. And just don't be this person. Everybody on your team's like, hey, yeah, everything's fine. I've seen this so many times. Everybody on the team, except one person, is like, oh, yeah, everything was fine. And then this one person comes and sees me and says, my team sucks. They hate me. Everything's horrible. And then I talk to the teammates, and they're like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So don't be this person. Speak up. If you have issues with your teammates, just bring it up like an adult, like you all are. I know that's scary, but I've had a lot of students push back on me when I call them adults, even in a senior level course. But you are adults. Bring it up. They're adults too. Resolve it peacefully. And especially out there in your career, if you have an issue, yeah, I know, Rick the Ruler, adult. That's the reaction I get a surprising amount of times. So now I hedge my comments. Like, I know you're going to hate this. But when you're on the job, if you have an issue, don't hesitate to talk to your boss about it. Bring up that issue early. We always have fail early iterators and things like that. Don't be afraid to just talk to your boss early and say, hey, I'm having this issue. They're going to be much happier that you brought the issue up to them, and which gives them an opportunity to resolve that issue before it becomes a big issue. Bring a small issue to them. Say, hey, I don't like where this is headed. Then they can fix it and not have it turn into a big issue. There's nothing worse for a manager or a boss or an executive than having an employee have an issue, not bring it up, and then have it turn into this huge disaster. Especially with software, right before release date, someone's like, oh yeah, I wasn't able to finish that module like the day before release. That's not good for anybody. Nobody wins. If you have an excused absence, this is a little different, being online only. We used to, I would usually go on a rant of, if you're sick, stay home. Don't get us all sick, please. With COVID, we're all abundantly aware of that. Like, don't get other people sick. But that's why we're online. So, but if you have an excused absence, if whatever is happening, please talk to your group, talk to me, message your project manager, get everybody on the same page before the meeting so we can handle it accordingly. If you have an unexcused absence, that's going to affect your grade. The policy is, actually, I think it's on some slides and in the syllabus, but you get one unexcused absence is free. After that, you start losing letter grades. A letter grade per absence after that. That is one of the most important things in life, I guess, is just showing up when you're supposed to show up. Just, if you're supposed to be somewhere, be there. It sounds trivial, but so many people disadvantage themselves by not doing that. It's such a simple thing. Just be there. The course website, as you should know, CSE442.com. If anybody asks me, aside from like this week, we have ad drop. If some of you drop and somebody takes their seats, I might answer it. But after ad drop, if anybody asks me what the course website is, I'm likely to pick on you. I might not give you a straight answer. I'll probably eventually tell you the answer, but not before giving some crap. I have literally made this as simple as I possibly can. CSE442.com. I don't think I can make it any simpler than that. If I could, I would have. CSE442.com. That's it. This is where everything is going to be. We're not going to use UB Learns. I activated the UB Learns just to post the course website, and even that, posting the course website on UB Learns was a pain. It's so many submenus and everything, and even then I can't find. I mean, I can because I know where it is. It's not easy to find. You have to click course information and then go to notes, and we're not using UB Learns. Anyway, everything's going to be there. Everything you need for the course. Some of it's links to offsite. It has, for example, the link to this Twitch channel. You might have to go off site, but that is going to be the central hub for everything in this course. You go there, you'll be able to find whatever you need. The slides, is I'm sure you've already noticed, the slides are here to guide us. Dr. Hertz goes off slides a lot. I'm going to go off slides a lot. They're just there to keep us on track and make sure I don't miss any big topic. But I obviously have a lot of, as you noticed already, I have a lot of talking points that are not in the slides. You can't just read the slides as a replacement for lecture. You got to watch the lecture, come here live, chat with me, interact with your classmates, or at the very least, watch it on the VODs. The groups are not random. You'll be able to pick your groups, but if you do want a random group, there will be an option for that. I think I deleted that form, but I might leave the logistics of that up to you. Post in Slack and just say, I want a random group. Who else wants a random group? Get 4 other people. Bam, random group. But each recitation is 20 students, give or take one or plus minus one. So there'll be 4 groups. You all go to your Slack channel, meet the other 19 people, figure out your groups. Some of you have your groups decided coming in. If you have a group less than 5, make sure you're recruiting up to 5 team members. Recruit those extras to round out the 5. And if you just don't care, I recommend posting the Slack channel and figuring it out. Just post, I want random group, just give me group. And there will be many other people in your same position. Is it possible to have a fill option if we don't have the full? I don't have the logistics. I'm not going to set up the logistics of that, but go to your channel in Slack and just message, hey, we have a group of 4, we're looking for one more. Ideally, here's our project pitch. If this project sounds interesting to you, come join. But I'm going to leave the logistics of that up to you. If there really is an issue and it's approaching that deadline, contact me before that deadline, and I might get involved if I have time, if I see the message and everything. Anyone A7? Yeah, now is not the time, but or I guess now is the time, but this isn't the place. Go to Slack. I don't have Slack on this machine, it's on my laptop. But if you go to Slack and where you see the channels, there's that plus sign right next to the channels. Click on Add Channel, Browse Channels, find the channel for your recitation. I created channels for, I'm at the wrong Slack, for A1 through A9. So find your recitation section, join that channel, and then go there. So those of you A7, A8 that you're posting, go to Slack, go to channel A7 or A8 respectively, join that channel, post. I already see there's messages in there. Post in there, chat, meet your recitation mates, form your groups. So, it's actually the slide. I am on topic for the slide. So I actually didn't look at this slide. I clicked without looking at it. So I was saying exactly what I was supposed to be saying. Perfect. Share your project ideas. I highly recommend forming a team around a project idea. So go into your recitation, pitch your idea that you'd like to work on if you have one, and then see if some people are interested in that idea. Forming around an idea that you like is much better than most other ways of forming groups. Especially a big detriment that I see in this course is forming a group with your friends and not having a concrete idea that you all want to work on, and then you just come up with one idea, or the most aggressive friend says, we're doing my idea, and then halfway through the semester they give up on their idea, and then you're left stuck working on their idea that you never cared about. It's just a mess. And sometimes by the end of the semester, they're not friends anymore. So I recommend forming a project around an idea and then work on that idea. If you're friends, I'll share the same idea that you're all excited about. That can be ideal, but you must form, as a subtext to this for anyone who missed it, you do have to form teams within your recitation. So you have to form your team with students enrolled in your recitation section. That is a requirement. We can't budge on that. If you start moving across recitations, say we got 2 recitations of 20 and 2 students go over here with 2 students over here. Now we got a recitation of 22, a recitation of 18. Now we're going to have groups of 6 and 4. It just gets to be a friggin' mess. Not allowed. We're just going to squash that. It has to be, you have to be registered for the same recitation. If you want to try to work out some crazy swap where some other student drops it and you add right away, use caution if you're going to do that, but that's really your only option if you have somebody in a different recitation whom you want to work with on the project. Do everything on time. Anything late by even a second is going to be a 0. It's just not accepted. This happens in the real world. Kaleida Health lost a bid. They had the bid, I think, for 10 years for the Buffalo school nurses. They supplied the Buffalo school nurses, but they still had to rebid each year because it's a public contract. It's taxpayer money. They have to go through the legit process. They submitted the bid 10 to 20 minutes late. I think it was like 14 minutes late. They submitted the bid late one year, and they lost the contract. Multi-million-dollar contract gone because they missed the deadline. And it was actually a silly deadline. They had to submit electronically and in person. They submitted electronically on time, but the in-person bid was late. So it was this whole controversy as well. It was a mess, and Kaleida, I believe to this day, still doesn't have that contract. They lost it. Bad time. So you have to be on time, and you have to complete the entire thing. I had a team one semester completed their entire project for one of the sprints. Everything was done. Everything was great. The project was fantastic, but they didn't hit submit. They didn't release their code, so it wasn't available. And I got soft. I ended up giving them some credit in that case. That was a while ago before I had this policy. But I had to talk to them like, if you were waiting for a piece of software, say you're waiting for a big game release and it's supposed to release at midnight, and the game's finished, it's perfect, it's tested, there's no bugs, everything's fantastic, the gameplay is great, but somebody on the team just doesn't click the upload button to upload it to Steam and release it. Somebody doesn't release it. That one mistake means that game didn't get released. That game doesn't exist to the public's eyes, to the user's eyes. That game's not there. So missing a deadline like this can be critical, and for good reason. Like, your users are waiting for your software. If you just don't release it, which is different than like pushing back a deadline. Like, deadlines get extended all the time. If a game has a certain release date and they're like, oh, that's being pushed back by a few months, it's a little different. But if there's a release date, it's not pushed back, and then they just don't release. That's bad. You lose customers. You lose business. I gotta start going quicker through this because there's some stuff at the end I really want to get to. So communicate, submit work on time. I think I harped on that long enough. I thought I deleted this slide. You know what I did? I hid it on PowerPoint, and when I converted it to PDF, it came back. So there's one more slide that's going to appear that I'm not expecting. But Matt's slides, he likes lots of pictures. You can see the pictures. There will be lots of memes. We're going to have fun with it because his slides are really exciting. He's been teaching for much longer than I have, more than, I don't even know how long, but a lot longer than I have. He's really gotten the putting together a presentation down to an art, having the different colors so the important words stand out, all the pictures and stuff. But yeah, this picture, since we do have this slide, I can share this sentiment. The first day of my first internship, I'm prepared with everything I had in college, and it just does not prepare you for the work world at all. This course is an attempt to fill in that gap, at least parts of it, to get you ready for that work world as opposed to the college. That's why we don't have cookie cutter assignments. It's an open-ended project, things like that. But this course should hopefully bridge that gap a little bit. But I certainly felt like this the first day of my first internship. I had no idea what to do. They showed me my desk, showed me how to clone the repo, and said it was this project. It was a 250,000 line code. I ran some analysis on it to figure out how big it was because I was overwhelmed by how big it was, which is a fairly small repo, by the way, in industry. And they said, can you make our entity resolution better? And then they just left. I'm like, I don't know, I guess. And, I figured it out after a while. I started looking through their code like, hey, I actually could make this better. But that's what you can expect out in the working world. And of course, I had plenty of colleagues and plenty of senior devs that were happy to answer my questions whenever I had them. but you have to be proactive and seek that out. Anyway, that's a tangent. It just said I need to go faster, and then I spent that much time on a slide that I was supposed to remove. So there are readings for most lectures. They're posted on the course website. I have up to, I think, week 5 posted on the course website right now. So if you want to read ahead, feel free. You should complete the reading before lectures, but you're students, you're going to do what you're going to do. But you should, to get the most out of this course and get the most educational value, do the reading before lecture, then show up to the lecture live, interact with the chat, and you'll get a lot more out of the course. If you don't do all that, hey, you still might get a good grade, but you're going to learn less. And, the links will be a lot of different types of things. So, grading. We all came to find out. Quizzes, midterm, final, activities, course project. No. No quizzes, no midterm, no final. We'll have lecture activities. A good number of the lectures will have activities. I'll talk about them in lecture when they arise. That's 10% of your grade. You need, I believe, what did I settle on? I think it was 93% to get an A. So you do have to do some of the activities even if you knock out the course project. But the cornerstone of this course is the course project. This course really is that course project. All of the lecture content and the readings and even the activities, it's all meant to help you succeed at the course project. So the course project is the main part of this course. It's a hands-on course. You're going to learn software engineering by engineering software. That's the best way you're going to learn, and that's what the course focuses on. We get rid of all of this extra crap that you're used to in other courses so you can focus on that one goal. We want one focused goal. You're going to make software. And we're going to focus on not so much on the writing code. You could be a fantastic coder, and I've seen fantastic coders take this class and get bad grades. You can be a great coder and do poorly in this course because we will focus on the software engineering concepts, the things like software development life cycles, documentation, tracking tasks, effectively using Git, testing your code, a lot of concepts that don't have too much to do with writing code. Obviously, you have to be a competent coder to do well in this class, but being a competent coder is not the only thing you need to do. If it was, this would just be another programming class. This is not a programming class, it's a software engineering class. How do we engineer software, not just write programs and write code? So that's the focus of the course. And then activities, as I mentioned, they're going to reinforce the project and the things that you have to do in your project and reinforce the lecture content so you're more prepared going into that project. So I'm not just throwing you into the project, I'm helping you be prepared to succeed at that project. Most coders in the real world lack that competence. Yeah, I mean, it does happen. There are some less than competent programmers who have full-time jobs, and you know what? A lot of them do just fine as long as they can do the project management side of things. As long as they can deliver things on time, like, you don't have to have the best code in the world to have a great career. It helps, don't get me wrong, but you can have the best code in the world and still have a really crappy career and still get fired from job after job. It's that's being a good coder is only one part of being a good software engineer, is what I'm saying. I think I hit on pretty much all of this. 4 sprints. So the word sprints, that's going to make more sense when we talk about Scrum. But the project is, for now, you can think of those as deadlines. The project is due every 3 weeks. We have a new sprint and a new deadline where you demo to your project manager during your recitation time. We'll talk more about that when we get there. The 4 sprints comprise most of your grade. It's not unexpected for you to have a rocky start, so the first few sprints are weighed a little less, and then once you get up to speed, you know what the course is, you're familiar with your teammates, that's when we hit you with the bigger percentages of your grade. You must form teams and choose your project idea by September 10th, by 11:59 p.m. on September 10th. This is worth 2% of your grade, so if you mess up this form or you're not in a team or you did whatever else silly thing that you messed up, I'm taking away 2% of your grade because, come on, figure it out. Go in the Slack channels, talk to the students in your recitation. Just figure it out. September 10th, that's next Thursday. So get in that Slack channel and start talking. Start working. Oh, I missed this update. This should say something other than that. We're not using Piazza. I actually created a Piazza, but I never uploaded the roster. If Piazza is something that the class wants, and I start feeling that Piazza is something that that would be useful, I'll add the roster and we could start using it. But I decided not activate it because I think Slack will suit us well, and I don't want to split the communication into too many different platforms. And there's a video at the end of the semester, 5 to 7 minute video selling your project. Think of like a Kickstarter campaign, a Kickstarter video. Sell your project and try to get people excited about it is the goal of that. I think I can skip some of this due to time. Oh my goodness, we're only a third of the way. I knew this was a lot of slides. I tend to spend a bit of time on each slide. You graduate, you're going to make a lot of money. Even in industry, a lot of software projects do fail. It's just a thing. Like, software's hard. It's hard. I don't know what else I want to say about this, but software's hard to write. Even professionals out there in industry working full time on teams, it was $11K per year more. Sword dying. Even those professionals are 29% successful in delivering projects. Yeah, everyone sucks. I knew that was in there. So you might want to think software engineering. This is your path. It's more like this. You just got to start. You just got to do it. You're in your senior year, so you know a lot about this. But when you expand into software engineering and not just writing these predefined programs for assignments, it is a bit tougher. I'll back up and go through some of this, but just since I only have 4 minutes, I want to make sure I get to the last few parts. I guess just this last slide. So for next week, just to make sure you know what's expected of you coming up, you have to create those teams of 5. I've been mentioning this. I've been harping on it. It's critically important. You got to start now, I recommend. These first 2 weeks, we don't really have recitations, but I recommend that if you haven't already gone into your Slack channel, go into that Slack channel during your recitation time, and hopefully at least one other person is listening to this and follows that advice. You two can talk during that time. It's a time where you know you're all available. You had that time in your schedule. So go there, chat on Slack, or chat on Slack before that. Chat on Slack right now. Chat on Slack after this lecture too. Get on there and start meeting and forming your teams, talking about your project ideas and getting everything up to speed. Since we won't have formal meetings for recitations until week 3, that's when your project managers will start working with you, and they'll have the Zoom links and all that good stuff, so you can start meeting each other. Before that, talk. Once you have a team, I recommend setting up a Zoom meeting, get to see each other, talk to each other, and get to know each other before you go on this semester-long adventure together. So this week and next week, by next week, Thursday, your team and your project has to be finalized, remember. So make sure you have that by then. Make sure everything's finalized. For those of you with Friday recitations, you don't even have that recitation time next week, so make sure you're getting on the same page, setting up extra meeting times, and just getting that stuff done early, getting that stuff ready. And if you're really in a jam, you've messaged in Slack, you've tried to talk to people, and you're still just not in a group, and that Thursday deadline's coming up, email me, message me on Slack. Just do what you got to do, and make sure you don't fall through the cracks. And the rubrics. I think the rubrics is the last thing I want to talk about. Maybe if we have a lecture later in the semester where I have a little free time, maybe I'll go back to those slides I skipped that kind of introduce more of the concepts that we'll talk about throughout the class. Testing was one of the biggest ones in there. We will be doing a lot of testing, but these rubrics I want to talk about in these last few minutes that we have. So these rubrics that are posted here, this is where your grade's going to come from. The most important one is this first one right here, the end of sprint rubric. Since, oh, you know what? That's where I posted this. Lectures will be streamed on. It was in the syllabus. That's where it was buried. But that's not abundantly clear, so I sent that email. Anyway, the end of sprint grading is a large portion of your grade. So this and all of these will be graded through this rubric. This is going to determine how those end of sprints are graded. This rubric is the de facto, where most of your grade is coming from. This rubric is, it's shared between 442 and 404. This is what your project managers are going to be looking at. This rubric has more power than I do. Now that it's finalized, Matt and I agree on it and everything. It is more powerful than me, as in, if I say something that contradicts this rubric, if I make some mistake along the way, and I say something ridiculously silly, like, you don't have to test your code or whatever, that doesn't matter because the rubric says testing is 20% of your sprint grade. So the rubric says it. The rubric is what stands. So the rubric says testing is 20%, and this is exactly how you'll be graded. Study this rubric, know this rubric long before that sprint 1 deadline, because this is what the project managers will use. And if you haven't done this, you've done this, you're going to get a 0 for that part of the rubric instead of the 5, and that's going to directly determine what your grade is. All the points, if you score 5 on everything, all the points will add up to 100. So this is directly how your percentage grade is being derived. So know this, study this, know it by heart, and study it. Oh, that's what I was saying. Study it before you study it before your end of sprint 1, because your project manager won't necessarily walk you through. For sprint 1, they might have a little leniency, but they're not supposed to walk you through this rubric at all. It's up to you and your team to demo completion of all of these aspects to your project manager. So you have to demo it. They're not going to get to the end of the demo and say, hey, you didn't show me about usability. Can you, oh, that's a bad example, but hey, you didn't show me your user stories. Can you show me your user stories? Because you never presented that part. If you have the most wonderful user stories on the planet, your team spent so much time working on them, they're so polished, professional, beautiful, but you don't bring them up during your demo, you get a 0. You have to demo all the things that you have, and it's your responsibility to know this rubric, to know what they're looking for, so you can present the proper things during that demo. So this is critically important. This is probably the most important, I shouldn't say probably, this is the most important document in this class. Know it, love it, just know it. And at the end of each sprint, I'm sure you've seen these in many other classes, but self and peer evals. At the end of each sprint, you'll be asked to rate yourself and your teammates in these categories on this scale. So if you have a slacker teammate, we can adjust the points accordingly. That's important, but less important. It's only important if your group is dysfunctional. And then one more rubric, since I'm talking about rubrics, the final presentation video. So that last video, rubric. So that last video that you make, this is the rubric of how that will be graded. So all the grading, there's no mystery here. All the grading is up front, except I guess for the activities. So you know how you're going to be assessed in this class and where your grade is going to come from right there in these 3 documents. And the first one, of course, being the most important. I think we're 2 minutes over, and I think that's everything that I really needed to get through. So I'll hang out. Typically with these lectures, I'll hang out for a little bit and interact with chat. I can never guarantee how long. Probably just 20 minutes or so today. But I'll hang out a little bit, but this is the end of the actual lecture material. So anything I say after this point, I won't hold you accountable for. There won't be new content that you'll have to know. And that's, even talking that fast, I only got through like half the slides. I don't know how Matt gets through 69 slides. I don't know how he gets through all of that in one 50-minute lecture. I'm sure he didn't spend a while, like I talked about the socials. I started a little late because we were chatting, but I don't know how he gets through all that. I was wondering that when I was reviewing the slides. I'm wondering even more so now. Just the over under 2 weeks till UB shut down. Need your take. Probably under. Matt just talks. I mean, I talked really fast too, but I went off slides so much. Maybe I'll have to watch his videos. Maybe he does talk even faster than me. But he'd have to go like double speed that I just went. If he wants to go off slides and talk about stories and stuff. That's my issue. I'll sit on one slide for way too long because I'll think of something that I want to share with the class that I think will help you, and I just go off on it. Matt's also not going to be distracted by chat. Like, I'll read a chat message. I'll have this. Actually, I'm doing it right now. I'll read one chat message and go off on a tangent for like 5 to 10 minutes, just talking about whatever that message prompted. And then the problem with that, I try to limit that because then I miss a lot of other messages that I want to read. How complicated, complex does a project have to be? So to answer that, I'm going to refer you to the rubric. So part of the rubric is adding features to since your last sprint. So the rubric measures how much you've done since the last sprint. If you haven't done anything, you haven't delivered anything new for that sprint. You don't have any new user stories. All user stories created or developed in sprint follow the template. If you didn't create any user stories during that sprint, well, that's a 0. If you didn't create any new deliverables during that sprint, that's a 0. I have to refresh on the wording of each one, but if you didn't write any new bugs, that's probably a good thing. But a lot of these are written in a way that they imply that new stuff was created. If your Scrum board didn't change state since the previous sprint, if you didn't make any pushes, commits, or I don't think we're doing pull requests. I don't think that's a requirement. I required that one semester, but if you haven't developed anything since your last sprint, you're getting 0s for most of these, and they're written specifically to do that. So your project doesn't have to be. There's no requirement on how complicated or complex the project has to be. But if you write "Hello World" for your first sprint, you're probably not going to get full credit for that. And then you have to add to that for your second sprint. You have to add more features for each sprint. So whatever you come up with, you can't finish your project on sprint 2, for example, or sprint 3. You have to always be adding to it and making it more complicated and more complex. But we're always looking at how much you added. Did you add to this thing? Not necessarily how complicated or complex the idea is. To that end, you don't have to finish your project either. If you have a really ambitious idea, you don't really have to finish it. But you should have it in a working state. Maybe you don't have all the features, but the core functionality should be there. But feel free to dream big. Write a whole mess of user stories. I know that most of you probably don't know what that term means yet, but we will talk about it, I think, Friday or next week. We could check the schedule. Friday, yeah. So Friday, we're going to talk all about user stories, which are, the very short version is, those are features that you plan to create. Feel free to create tons of user stories and dream up tons and tons of features, even if a lot of them are never going to be completed by the end of the semester. But feel free to have them on paper and dream big, and then, don't limit your ideas and be like, let's do this really easy project because we just want to get A's in this course. Don't bother doing that. Just dream big and then don't finish it is a lot better idea for this. The teams that dream small and do that, I've seen. I don't want to mention specific project ideas because I'll be picking on someone who's thinking of the idea. Maybe I will. So yeah, I will pick on one because I'm so sick of seeing it. Don't let this stop you if this is your idea. Maybe your project will be fantastic. But I've seen so many what to cook apps. I type in what I have in my refrigerator, and then it tells me a list of recipes that I can cook. that project doesn't take that long to make. Like, you can make that in a hackathon. I've seen it made at hackathons before. 'Cause everybody has the same idea for some reason. Um, you can finish that in sprint 1, and then what do you do after that? But also, it's kind of boring. It might sound interesting at first, but once you start working on that, you realize the limitations of why there isn't an app that everybody uses that does this, even though so many people have tried. It's kind of boring because it doesn't work great. It's either going to only recommend recipes that you have the exact ingredients for, which means you have to add every single ingredient. Like maybe an ingredient calls for mustard, and you just didn't bother typing mustard into the thing, and now it doesn't recommend that recipe. Or you have it recommend recipes that you don't have all the ingredients for. It's like, well, if you just go out and buy a ham, then you can cook this recipe with the ketchup and mustard that you have in your fridge. Like, well, I don't want to go out and buy a ham. That's why I'm using this app. Anyway, but I don't want to pick on that idea too much. But any team that's done that app, I see them lose motivation about halfway through the semester once they realize all those issues and how kind of boring the idea is. I had one team in particular where no one on the team even cooked, and that was their project. And they were coming to me and saying how, they just lost motivation and everything. Well, no wonder. You're not the users of your own app. You don't care about the finished product. Anyway, that's what I mean by I'll take one comment and talk about it for 5 minutes. I have a tendency to do that. He gets through it with the power of Hawaiian shirt magic. I almost wore a Hawaiian shirt today. I should have, just to channel Matt. Matt goes off slides too. Yeah, well, I like going off slides. I think any good lecturer should go off slides. If the worst presentations I've ever seen is where somebody just reads their slides. It's so boring. We should go off slides. The issue is with so many slides, I just have no time to get through it all. Maybe he just doesn't finish his slides. Maybe he skips slides like I do. Too many colors. I actually like the colors in Dr. Hertz's slides. It breaks things up. And he does that specifically, like he's controlling where your eyes focus and things. He's put some thought into these. I'm going to play some Valorant tonight. I don't. I actually haven't played Valorant. But I'm aware it's a thing. Project needs to be based on specific topics. No. But if you do a web app, just be aware, if you do a web app, you do have to deploy on hardware. We have CSE hardware or CSE server if you need access to that. Cheshire, for those who've heard of it. And I can get you access to that to set up your project. That's usually a requirement. I'm going to be a little laxed on that. I hope I don't regret it. But you have that option available to you as well. But if you choose a web app, you have to deploy on actual hardware and run your app live. No local host crap. You actually have to be live on the internet. So the project manager from their dwelling, wherever they are in the world, they can type in a URL and access your app. That is a requirement. So just be aware of that. Fast isn't always great if the audience can't absorb if he talks too fast. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have my thoughts on that. You don't want to talk too slow either. I feel like especially these days with the, y'all growing up with the internet, I feel like faster content is better. I feel like you can absorb content faster. When I have technical lectures, I do slow down when it takes a long time to digest. But especially today when I'm just like, here's the course, here's how you're graded. Like, it's just a lot of really easy to digest content. I can talk fast this lecture. Yeah, when I'm explaining recursion to 116 students, I slow it way down. But I've had too many lectures as a student where the professor just talks so slow, and it's just not enough to keep me engaged. I'm used to, watching Phil DeFranco where he just is ripping through the news, talking so fast. Like, that's the pace I think I'm used to, and I think most of you are used to. I realize it's tough for non-native English speakers. I do feel for you. For you, I still recommend watching the lectures live, but if you need to go to YouTube once it's uploaded there and tone down the speed where you have the speed controls, you can always slow me down if you need to. Or if I don't speak fast enough, you can always speed me up. I also get behind live on chat. I'm going to start skipping more chat messages this semester. I used to read every single one, make sure I read them all. But I'm going to start skipping some this semester. I've been playing Tetris 99. I meant to play more video games over the summer. I ended up working on the house more than I wanted to, but Tetris 99 has kind of been my go-to just to chill my brain and relax for a little bit. What game did I... There was a game that I did play through this summer. I forget what it was. It was like early summer. Right after last semester ended, I needed to just chill. Fall Guys. I don't want to start playing Fall Guys because I'll get addicted. I've seen it on Twitch a few times, though. Heroku, for those of you making web servers, Heroku's a good option for deploying. Free. It's free. It's the best part. Can we make a program in Scratch? Ooh. Program in Scratch. I mean, if that's even a serious comment, I'm guessing that it's not. But would I allow that if somebody were to? No, I wouldn't, because version control is required. You have to host your project on GitHub. There's actually a GitHub classroom that I have set up. I don't know. Not sure where I linked to it yet. It might be in the syllabus. No, I think it's in the form for submitting your team. Oh, and then I'm going to get to a fade. I don't want to. But I think it's in this form. You have to be logged into your Buffalo account. I think I linked to it in there. But there is a Google Classroom where you have to set up your project, and you're not going to be able to share your Scratch, code in the GitHub repo. You're not going to be able to go through the logistics of the course. Your schedule includes A1 and A5? Whoa, that's I don't know how that's possible. So should I join both recitations? Are you sure one of them's not just A? Because the lecture is just an A with no number, and then your recitations are A with a number. Are you sure that A1 isn't just an A? Do we get a... You don't have to get a domain. Like, if you go to Heroku, you'll have your app... I forget if it's a subdomain or not. Like, your app.heroku.com or heroku.com/your app, whatever it is. You don't have to get a domain. It's always cooler. I recommend it. If you're proud of your app, why not? It's only like $12. But it's not a requirement. Making Cookie Clicker in Scratch is your greatest achievement. That sounds pretty awesome. You do mobile app, doesn't need to be posted to an app store. I'll have to discuss that with Dr. Hertz about mobile apps, what he's been doing with that. I've changed my requirements. I've gone back and forth on this. I don't like requiring that it's posted to an app store, because like if you're making an iOS, I think it's $75. You gotta cough up to Apple. But I'm not sure what procedure he has for the project managers to test a mobile app these days. If they don't have the right hardware, they can run the emulator, but they'd have to, if you make an iOS app and they don't have a Mac, they can't even run the emulator. I have to check with him on that. Is it basically an EC2 instance? The Heroku is a little different than EC2. EC2 is a good option also, though. Also has a free tier. I can't play Tetris. You can do anything you want with practice. No such thing as too much working on the house. I mean, you agree with my wife then. She wants me to do everything with it, which is good. I'm not complaining. What do you think of VR? Yeah, I'll give my opinions on VR. So actually, with this class, I was excited about VR when I first started teaching this class. When I first started this job, and I got the headsets and I put them in the lab in Baldy 19, which we don't really have this semester. And I was hoping a lot of students would make VR apps. It would be this freaking awesome thing. And only I think only 2 teams ever made a VR app, and they were decent, I guess. They were okay. But outside of that, so I was excited because I thought UB. This is when the DK2s just came out, and I'm like, we're gonna be on the ground floor of VR. I'm gonna get some ambitious students, and they're gonna, go out there and revolutionize the world. I dreamed a lot more when I first started, till I had the life sucked out of me. But anyway, I don't see the technology taking off. I mean, even outside of UB, I don't see it taking off the way I would want it to. It's such a cool idea, but it just got some hurdles that are going to be tough to get over. Maybe someday VR will be a thing, but I don't know. I've played it before. It has its issues. The fact that you can't see anything in the real world is an issue. How many times I whacked my hand on the desk is more than I'd like to admit. I would get motion sickness too, depending on the game I played, which is common. A lot of people report that. So I just don't think it's going to be there. I think AR is more of the future. I think AR, we could see some huge adaptability where a lot of people start using it. VR, I think it's just going to be a niche. I don't think it's going to explode into the mainstream. For one, you got to get the extra hardware. Most people aren't going to pay for it. And once you don't have the user base, you're not going to attract developers because the money's just not in it. So all we're going to see and all we've been seeing is either small, like indie-ish games, or major developers who just have a kind of crappy port of one of their major titles over to VR. I don't think we're going to see like a major AAA home, built for VR experience, which is sad. I wish it would exist, but the market's just not there. It's just not going to happen, I don't think, unless there's more improvements to the technology, major improvements, which I thought, which we have gotten. We've gotten major improvements, but it's still not there. Will the VOD be available after the stream is over? I believe the VODs are available. I guess I can double check this since I keep saying it. I believe the VODs are available during the lecture, like during the stream. How do I... I feel like I'm missing some buttons. Did Twitch change its interface? It did, didn't it? I don't... yeah. So if you click on my like generic blue face icon, it gives you more menus. Click on videos there, and you can see this video. I'll have to do it just for organization, but I didn't cut the stream at all today. So the title of the stream is whatever I had it at the beginning of the stream. I didn't cut the stream between lectures, so it says CSE 116 finale. Because I forgot to update the title since last semester. But you can click that video and watch this recording as it's happening. So you can go back. If there's something I just said you missed, you can go back and watch it as it's being recorded. Flash is prone to security issues, yeah. I'm surprised Flash is being used at all anymore. Should the date be September 10th for... Oh, February 10th. Yeah, it should. Yes, I should say September 10th. Thank you. Among Us with students, TAs. I don't know what you mean. Heartloff Among Us. The students' TAs. I don't know. Does not compute. I'm an imposter? Oh, man. Yeah, mix. I was reading chat. Yeah, I was quiet for a little bit there. But yeah, mixed reality and augmented reality, I think it's going to be better than VR. VR is just, I don't know. It's awesome if you get the right experience, and the total immersion is unparalleled. But I don't know. It's going to be a niche, in my opinion. I'm sure there's only like one HoloLens on campus. There's a couple of them. There's one that I control. Somebody's lending it right now. I'd have to even look up to see who. Someone's grad student. But with the HoloLens, I was really pushing that to get some projects with that. I think there were 2 projects for that, but neither of them really turned out right. Turned out to be pretty tough to develop for, where it takes more than just a 1 semester project to get used to developing for the HoloLens. Same with like Unity and them. It's somewhere in here. I forget where I wrote everything, but somewhere in here it's gonna say Unity. Is it right in here? No. Things like Unity, Unreal Engine, Game Maker, RPG Maker, those things are banned for the same reason. It's just any teams that do those, all you're doing is learning that specific software. You're not really learning how to engineer software. And it could take a whole course just to learn how to use that interface. And then by the time they get that, they don't know how to do the version control with it. Doing version control with a Unity project and how to handle the assets in a repo, which you shouldn't have the assets in a repo, but setting that up is just a lot more logistics than most teams want to handle, and the projects end up falling apart historically. So eventually, I think that was like 2 years ago, I started banning that, and then Matt's held on to that ban. Because I've never had a Unity project that... I haven't had a team using Unity or the like that learned the software engineering techniques that I needed them to know. All they ended up doing was getting some practice with Unity. And it's just not what this course is about. If you want to learn Unity, just learn it on your own time. Use it for a hackathon or something. You'll be able to see what it's all about. Where's the A1 recitation Zoom link? I don't have any recitation Zoom links, but if you go to Slack, there are channels for each recitation. That's where you should talk to meet your students. And if I'd recommend that once you start talking with somebody, have somebody or yourself create a Zoom link, start the meeting, and then meet with everybody. Especially if you can do that during your recitation time, where you all have that time available in your schedule. Set up a Zoom link and do that during your recitation times and meet each other, see each other's faces, get to know each other, interact with each other. With being online only, it's tough to just meet people and talk to your fellow students. So I'd recommend that, but I'm not going to set up the logistics for that. I thought about it, but if I creating the 9 Zoom links, fine, I can do that. But I would have to go in there and start the meetings, I believe. Like, I don't know, just me being there for another 18 hours of the week just to monitor the Zoom meetings, and or even just going there at the beginning and then giving up the host duties to somebody else. I don't know. It'd be more than I have time to do because I have a lot of other stuff, a lot of other logistics to set up. Creating a comic but using Agile. Yeah, mixed reality is dope. 24-hour streams. I should do a 24-hour stream of I've been thinking of doing coding streams. I meant to do like work on a project over the summer and stream it, but I never got around to it. But if I did some software development streams for this course and then went through all the logistics that you have to do for this course, because there are very specific logistics that you have to do for your projects in this course. And some of you are going to argue with me, I don't want to do that. Tough, you gotta. And the specific logistics, for those of you who will complain, I do hear your complaints. I agree with most of them. But when, for this class and when you get out there on the job, there's going to be a set of tools and a set of procedures that you just have to follow. You get to your first job, the senior devs are going to say, here's how we do things here, and you just have to follow them. It's no different for this course. You have a set of procedures. Here's what you have to do. Here's where you have to name your branches. Here's how you merge into master and things like that. It's just going to be the way it is. Why did I say that? Oh, yeah, so if I did a stream, then I can show you all the logistics, because I don't always use these same logistics for my personal projects either. It's the logistics for this course. They're designed for educational purposes and to show you how proper structure works in a team project. So if I did a stream, built some software, and one of the pieces of software I have on my list I want to build is a chatbot for Twitch, and have some way for students to ask questions in a more streamlined way and upvote questions. So I'd like to build something like that in a stream while following all the exact procedures of this course to get a little twofold, like watch me work and also get an example of all the procedures of the course. So I might do not a 24-hour stream, but I know this isn't even what the comment was saying or talking about, but it's what I thought of when I read it. But to do a stream someday to show all that and just relax too, for all of us to hang out outside of deadlines and courses and stuff. Oh, Among Us is a game. 24-hour stream of a specific game. I haven't played that one, obviously. Oh, sounds fun though. If we played that as a game, if y'all want to set up, you can create new Slack channels. Everybody has that power to do that. If you create like a gaming channel and set up games and start playing with your classmates, I'd encourage that. Again, and this will probably be like the 10th time I'm saying this lecture, but especially being online only, I think we could use some more of that kind of stuff. Yeah, Shooting Star, see you. I'm going to head out soon. I'm pretty much at live chat here. I just want to make sure I don't miss any important questions here. Could the deadline be before the next lecture and not end of day? Beijing time really makes it hard. No, for the Thursday deadline, I mean, just get it done Wednesday. This deadline, just get it done Wednesday. I'm not going to move the deadline because at midnight I want to start reviewing all the teams and making sure everything's good to go, because I have to give that list to Matt. So by Monday, the logistics on my side, by Monday we have to have everything set up with 404 so they can start your project meetings in recitations that next week on week 3. So I want to, right at midnight, start processing all this information and get that information to Matt as soon as I possibly can, so he has time to work with his project managers and assign project managers to teams and get all that logistics done. So I do have a time crunch here. I can't really move this deadline. There's a lot that has to happen between this deadline and Monday morning before the first recitation, and a lot of people involved. I don't want to hold anybody up. But just get it done Wednesday. Get it done today, to be honest. At least form your team today and start talking about your projects. Or I could just make it do like 3 p.m. here. Like, just pretend that deadline's 3 p.m. Yeah, version control with Unity isn't terrible. Yeah, if you have some context for it ahead of time. But most students who are most teams that do a Unity project in this class, it's their first time ever using Unity. So they're just not ready for that difficulty. They don't have that context ahead of time, and they set it up wrong, and then they just have a mess to begin with, and have trouble ever cleaning it up. Oops. Yeah, like most things aren't bad once you know what you're doing, once you're familiar with the domain and everything. But when students aren't, they make a mess. Yeah, just need to be. Oh, I should have read the next few messages too. It helps. Yeah, and some students, believe it or not, come into this class without Git experience either. So setting up Git with a Git hook. I mean, you're already talking beyond a lot of students' knowledge and capability. And to be perfectly honest, the students and the teams who choose Unity, I think a lot of them are choosing Unity because they think it's going to be easier, because Unity does a lot for you. These aren't the students who are, know in-depth Git and repo management and everything. These are the students who are like, man, code sucks. Unity gives us this interface. So the projects and the teams who choose those projects tend to fail. Not fail the class, but their project isn't as successful as it should be. Yeah, you can use Heroku. You can use the databases that you want. I'm not going to have restrictions for that, but your app does have to be deployed live. So there has been the past few semesters a requirement that you have to deploy on the UB servers. I understand why. I think it's a good idea, but at the same time, I think it's just too restrictive. You have to use the LAMP stack. You have to use MySQL. And I think that's pretty restrictive. If you want to explore different technologies, I want to open that up to you. It does make things more difficult in other areas, but if you have a technology you want to work on, so yeah, MongoDB, for example. You can use MongoDB. I don't want to restrict that. Valorant streams. Yeah, February 10th deadline. It's already due. Yeah, February this year or next year? That's the question. Maybe it's February. I can never say that right. This year, and y'all get minus 2% already on day one. Maybe the deadline they were referring to was... Oh, I see. Maybe the deadline they were referring to was for lecture activities. I see. I was wondering, like, why... This deadline's next week. Like, you want that one extended already? Just do it. I see. Yeah, I'll consider that. The deadline for lecture activities, instead of being due at midnight same day, being due before the next lecture. Do I like that? Wait, so what time zone is that affecting? So lecture is at... So you'd have 3 Eastern to midnight. That's a 9-hour gap. So that'd have to be exactly your sleeping time. And then you would have an hour. So presumably you spend that hour. If you get 8 hours of sleep and spend that hour watching lecture, there's still time to do the activity. I'm not going to move it to the next lecture, but maybe I'll have it like 3 a.m. or something like that. For those of you in different time zones, the time zones that are affected by this, let me know what your specific concerns are. If I move it to like 3 a.m. Eastern time, or maybe like 6 a.m. Eastern time, give you those extra few hours. If those are hours that that you can use for working, because people in Eastern Standard Time aren't going to use those hours anyway. Presumably they'll be asleep. The lecture activities, none of them take that long that they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to finish by midnight. Good thing I have till 3. So I'm not concerned about that. I'd go as far as like 6 a.m. Eastern the following day. I'm not going to go all the way to the next lecture though, because then there's the temptation to put it off, watch the lecture the following day, and at that point it's a slippery slope and students just start falling behind. Groups due Feb 10. That's a lot of time. Your group is due. Your project idea is due. You have to create your repo. You have to create your ZenHub account, set those tools up. So there's a bit to do. Once you form your group, getting the project idea down is tough. Your conflict resolution thing. So it's a decent amount of time, but there's also a good amount of stuff you have to do. This might even be easier now that we're online only, because you can go to Slack and just chat at any time with anybody and chat asynchronously. When that due date comes with only 2 recitations, and students being students like to skip the first week of recitation, sometimes that's not enough time to even form a group, much less come up with agree on a project idea. But and keep in mind that the first deadline comes up pretty... Oh, damn it. I went through all that not realizing February. Damn it. Take that back. Yeah. Which, yes, I gotta fix that. September. But even September, there's a lot you gotta do, but that's not a lot of time if, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the first sprint is due fairly soon. It's due in less than a month. So there's not a lot of time before the sprint 1 is due. So you really got to hit the ground running to be able to get that. 6 a.m. is great. I got to make a few notes here. So 6 a.m. deadline is going to be fine for all time zones, I hope. That should cover everything. You'd have to be sleeping, 9:15. You'd have to be sleeping 15 hours a day at those exact hours for that to not work with you. Feb was the key word in there. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what month it is. I know what month it is now, but it's going to change tomorrow, and then I'm going to be all freaking thrown for a loop again. Keep changing things on me. Sorry, I shouldn't scroll like that. I realize... So I have my stream open on my laptop. When I'm looking over here, that's what I'm looking at. And I realize how annoying it is when I scroll. I'll try to not do that. But I just forgot about it that moment. And right after I say that, I'm going to scroll a little bit, but in a less annoying way. I guess I can just do this. So this will change. This will be 6 a.m. the following day. Don't be late. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the students who are going to end up being late aren't going to listen anyway, especially not now, half an hour after class. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything critical. Don't cheat. I'm going to spare you the don't cheat lecture. By now you've heard it 100 times. If someone's going to cheat in a senior level class, nothing I say is going to stop them. The deadline is September 10th. Yeah, the deadline in the calendar is right where it should be. I have it in the right spot. I just have the wrong date. So September 9th, September 10th, September 11th. First day of classes, I'm already overwhelmed. One nice thing about this course is it's very front-loaded. So there's a lot of stuff I have to cover in these first 2 weeks. First 3 weeks, I suppose. Where, because I have to... I got a typo here, too. There's a lot I have to cover in the first 3 weeks because you're responsible for them for sprint 1. But since sprints 1 through 4 all follow the same rubric, once we get sprint 1 done, you tend to get in a rhythm, get into kind of a flow for this course. So overwhelmed these first 2 weeks. You might be, depending on a lot of factors, but it'll calm down. We'll get in a good rhythm after that, which is largely the point of using Scrum and Agile, being Agile developers and applying Scrum practices, is to get in a rhythm with these shorter 3-week sprints. So we need to email you about assigning to a team by the end of the week. So you should go to Slack and talk in your respective Slack channels for your recitation to form a team. If for whatever reason you're not able to form a team and you're really struggling with that, then contact me. Either send me a message on Slack or send me an email. Let me know so I can handle the situation. I don't want to get to September 10th or September 11th after midnight and have students who are not in teams. Like, that's just a disaster situation. Then I have to reach out to you. I have to find the teams with 4 students. Actually, I'll probably just contact the 5 of you and just be like, this person's in your team now, deal with it. But that's a mess that I would have to deal with. So contact me before it's a mess is the important part of that. But ideally, just go talk to your students, your fellow classmates in your recitation section in Slack, and find your teams, figure out your teams however you want. And I'd recommend, if you don't care what your team is, just go there and say, I don't care who my team is. Who else wants a random team? 10 other people are probably going to be like, yeah, me too. And then, bam, you got 2 teams and plus 1 person with the numbers I said. And I recommend doing that now. We're close to 20 members in a lot of these channels. But I recommend doing that now because, if I can be frank, if I can be honest here, the students who are going to wait till next week to even join these Slack channels, you don't want them as teammates. Do it now and get with the ambitious students. And then the students who don't form a team until next week, or next week you got a team of 3 and you got to take those extra 2 scrubbos. I shouldn't say scrubbos, but those extra 2 students. Odds are those extra 2 students are going to wait till the last minute on each sprint deadline as well. If they're waiting till the September 10th deadline to get in a team, don't do that to yourself. Let them fail together. Not fail the class. This class is fairly hard to fail as long as you're making all the submissions. But don't get a C with them. Is there an easy way to swap into another recitation if a spot opens? A lot of my fellow TAs are in A6 and I'm in A7. Wouldn't mind moving over if it's possible. It's not going to be easy and it's super risky. I don't recommend it. But if a spot opens, you would have to drop the class and then re-add the class. So you're running the risk of, in the between, somebody else takes that open spot, and you might not be taking 442 anymore this semester, especially if somebody else takes your open spot. This class is full. It's actually over full. So, I don't even think you could get in the into the lecture. You wouldn't be able to get back into the lecture section. Even if a spot opens up, there wouldn't be a spot open in the lecture. So you wouldn't be able to re-register. You could maybe try to talk to an advisor and have them switch just your recitation, but it's just too much. I wouldn't risk it. What should I do if all the members are in different recitations I am? You're going to be finding a new group. Go to the recitation that you're scheduled in and find a new group in that recitation. Sorry, but this is the way it's got to be in this, or else the logistics get really messy. And it's a newish requirement since the last time I taught this class, is that we want all the teams, which I wish I did, to be honest. I wish I did when I taught this class before, is require you all to be in the same recitation, or else things just get messy. I don't know, it's just I don't want to get into the details, but it's bad. Some teams can't handle, some teams and some students can't handle the responsibility of scheduling things very well, and all that burden falls on the project managers, the 404 instructor, and on the 442 instructor. And it's just a huge mess, and I don't know. And then I always, not to open up too much, but when I go through a whole bunch of extra logistics to help this group form, and then they produce a really crappy project, I always feel, I don't know, taken advantage of, I guess. Like, you guys didn't want to be together to develop a great project. I'm not saying this applies to any of you, by the way. But in the past, they didn't want to be together to develop a great project. They just want to hang out with their friends and blow off a class. And they submit crap, and then they complain to me when I give them a D. It's like, I don't know. But anyway, I don't want to go off on that, right? You can use swap instead of drop. Is that an option? I'm not aware of that option, but if that exists, go for it. But I mean, I'm not going to be a part of any process of that. If you want to try to figure out something, go for it. Be my guest. But at the end of add drop, whatever recitation you're registered for, I'm going to make sure all your teammates are in that same recitation. That's my job. Yeah, you're not going to have any time. 2 courses, TAing 2 courses and taking 5. That's a workload. Good luck. It's a lot. But with that, I gotta sign off here. I said I was only gonna go 20 minutes over and end up hanging out, but you know, it's been a while. So, you excited for Cyberpunk? I've seen that posted a bunch. That must be a new game. I'm not even aware of it at this point. You know, the past few weeks of my life has been just preparing for today and the start of the semester. So I'm not even aware of any of what that even is. I suppose I could Google it. Yeah, it's just the new thing. Our website has cookies. So I expect you all to be skipping class on November 19th. Is that what's happening? Oh, November 19th. That's way late. Y'all are pumped about it now? Y'all got some waiting to do. Oh, it's right before fall break at least. So these 2 days. Gotcha. I'll be aware of that. No, I'm not excited about the game. I'm not really aware of it. For the rest of the semester. Well, I mean, my job is to give you the grade you earned. That's all I can do. I'll try to teach you, but if Cyberpunk's more important, do what you do. All right, yeah, I gotta sign off here. So have fun, everyone. Go to Slack, chat there, meet your classmates, meet your recitation mates, form some groups, and I'll see everybody Wednesday. Take care.